The Los Angeles Rams are a playoff team, and we've got big takeaways from their biggest win of the season over the Browns. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor, join the party, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and let us know what is your biggest takeaway from the Rams win over the Browns. My name is Doug McCain. My friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 Sports, SI, Dodgers Nation, now the Rams for Locked On. And as always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 8th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, the Rams' playoff chances continue to improve. We got our big takeaways, everything you need to know from the Rams win over the Browns. But first, this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, Travis, the Rams were in the playoffs for about 3-4 hours, something like that. And, of course, the Packers had to go and beat the Chiefs, but still, things are looking up. This Rams team beats the Browns at home. They score 34 points against the number one defense. I had him at 26 points, and that felt like a stretch. I'm scoring 34 points, end up getting that safety to put it to 36. This team looks like a playoff team, Travis.
Yeah, I think the most remarkable thing about this, and I've never been happier to be wrong about something in my life, is that here we are heading into the second week in December, and the Rams are at 500 and more or less in control of their own playoff destiny. That right now they're outside the number, but if they take care of their business over the remaining 5 games, they're going to be in really good shape. Not only can I think they get to that 7th spot, I think that the 6th spot is a possibility as well. The Packers obviously playing pretty good football all of a sudden, not so much going on in Minnesota. So the Rams are very much in this. I thought they played their best game of the season against a really good opponent. I know that Joe Flacco has not played football in a long time. Joe Flacco was pretty good yesterday. Other than the interception he threw to John Johnson that kind of flipped the game right there, he was a good player. This is one of the top defenses in the league with the very likely defensive player of the year. And they basically threw a shutout against those guys. That they looked like a real NFL team. They moved the ball on the ground. They moved it through the air. It was a great win for the Rams, their best win of the season by far, because it was a team that doesn't play in the NFC West.
Absolutely. Great point there. They go out there and they beat this Browns team. Like you mentioned, Joe Flacco, like I said on the Friday show, that having Joe Flacco instead of DTR actually could have been an advantage. I think it turned out to be. I mean, you saw the beginning of the game, big play to Amari Cooper. He was clearly locked in. He was making some big throws. And you saw this Rams team go out there and play complimentary football. You got quality for 4 quarters for the most part. There were some penalties at the end. Haversick, of course, we'll talk about him in a little bit. But still, the offensive line, I think, gets all the credit yesterday. Matthew Stafford is a hot quarterback right now. We'll talk about him. No interceptions, but he was not sacked once. Sacked once. My game ball, Travis, is going to that offensive line. They stepped up in a big way. Not a single sack, just 2 hits on the QB. He was vertical. Alaric Jackson got the game ball from Sean McVay after the game. Myles Garrett, one of the best players in the game, playing a little injured, but that was the key to the game. Because, look, the recipe is clear. Give Stafford time, he's going to cook. And it's not just Cooper Kupp, right? It's Puka Nacua we'll talk about in a second. I thought that 70-yard touchdown, threading the needle, that sent chills up my spine. That was a beautiful ball right there that set the tone for this Rams offense, saying, no, we're going to score points against this Browns team. We're not afraid of this vaunted Browns defense.
Okay, a couple of things here. I'm going to work backwards. I'll do the Stafford thing first. Don't let me forget to talk about Myles Garrett. So the throw, the Rams break the huddle, and they had a play called, obviously, in their huddle. They come out, and you could tell very quickly that Matthew Stafford saw something that he liked a great deal. because he very quickly killed the play at the line of scrimmage. He audibled into something very different. My pre-half and post-game partner, Kirk Morrison, said, oh, they're taking a shot right here, because you could see the way that they did it. And not only did he see it, he got the look that he was looking for. Puka nailed the route. And then you're talking about a guy in Matthew Stafford who made a throw that, 10, 12 guys in the league can make? And he made it, and it was perfect, and 70 yards to the house. So that was the offensive side, at least as far as the skill players go. You mentioned it. Myles Garrett did not have a sack yesterday. For the first time in Myles Garrett's career, he did not record a tackle. So this is how good they were against him yesterday. Myles Garrett's probably going to win the Defensive Player of the Year. Yes, he's hurt. Yes, that arm clearly was giving him some sort of problem. No tackles? Myles Garrett? Really? That's an unbelievable accomplishment for that Rams offensive line to neutralize him the way they did. I know he wasn't 100%, but so what? He was out there on the field, and the Rams did a great job against him, and that's why they won that game yesterday.
Absolutely. That was the big key of the game. Matthew Stafford, given time to throw, wasn't afraid. I thought he was very aggressive, too. He's just not afraid to just push the ball downfield, making big plays. Ended up going 22 for 37, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns. In his last 2 games, look at his numbers. 508 yards, 7 TDs, 1 pick. So he broke that streak of throwing an interception. So that was key. That's going to be key moving forward. It does feel like after the bye week, they've really figured this thumb thing out. You're seeing him continue to have confidence. It's not an issue right now. He's spraying the ball around. 7 Rams receivers made a catch yesterday. Cooper Kupp sliding into a new role almost, because I think my next biggest takeaway, I hate to say this, my big takeaway, Puka Nacua is WR1 for the Los Angeles Rams right now. Puka Nacua is the best receiver on this team. You see the production. You see how he's able to continue to make plays. Once again, he was outstanding for this Rams team. Ended up setting the new rookie record, passing Eddie Kennedy and eclipsed 1,000 yards. Puka Nacua is him. He can get Chick-fil-A on Sundays. This guy is outstanding.
He absolutely is their number 1 wide receiver. Like, Cooper Kupp got in the end zone. It was a big touchdown. It kind of put the game away for good. The Rams put themselves in a great position with that touchdown to Cooper Kupp. But you're right. This goes as number 17 goes. Go back towards the end of the first half when he got banged up on the left sideline there. And I think Rams fans across the city were like, oh, no, if Puka's down. From there, he very gingerly walked off the field, and the announcement was made inside the press box that he was questionable to return. And we saw what that Rams offense looked like without him. They had a quick 3 and out, and you're like, oh boy, this is not going to be good at all. They did get it going there right before the end of the first half. They ended up with scoring a field goal there. But you saw Puka come back in the second half, and all of a sudden it just opened things up all over again. He is that guy. He is the guy that I think they're looking for first. He is the guy whose number I think is getting called the most often. And by the way, if Cooper Kupp is your WR1A or WR2, it's a pretty good second option right there, because the Rams really looked like a complete football team yesterday, and it was because every piece of that offense, even Tyler Higbee got into a drive there towards the end of the first half. I'm sure we'll talk about Kyren Williams, but that offense, starting with that offensive line, was really terrific yesterday.
100%. And you look at the production, 4 catches, 105 yards, a touchdown. He had 2 rushes for 34 yards. He comes back, has that 31-yard end around. If you didn't get that DeMarcus Robinson holding call, he would have even had a bigger day. And I think what really stands out for me is my guy is just straight up tough. I mean, Sean McVay said, I thought he was dead, and then he comes back to life. And then he was asked about it after the game if he was dead, and he said, a little bit. I wasn't breathing, and my shoulder didn't feel like it was in the right place, but I was good, though. So I love his attitude. I think it's infectious. I love his energy. And look, the reality is he's just tough and he's productive. And I think the biggest key, too, it was coming out with a rib injury, kind of looked like a shoulder injury. It appears like it's going to be fine. And it felt like we were going to lose him for a considerable amount of time, which would have been a massive blow. Feels like he's going to be okay, and he's moving forward that there's going to be no issues. But I can't really say enough about Puka Nacua. I was big on this guy, like you said, on the conductor, the Puka Nacua hype train. I thought he was going to have a really good rookie year. I said he was going to be one of the steals of the draft. I did not have him eclipsing Cooper Kupp as a WR1 having a 1,000-yard season, though. I will say that, though.
I was going to say a 1,000-yard season in week 12. They got 5 games left. I mean, it's not a 1,000-yard season is a great season, full stop. A 1,000-yard season through 12 games, forget about it. I mean, he has been absolutely fantastic, and I think you're right. I think his toughness is a big part of that. He's a big, strong, physical wide receiver. He's not looking to avoid contact. He has been a revelation for the Rams this season. You also mentioned Demarcus Robinson yesterday. Maybe not a guy that we've said his name more than 2 or 3 times all season, all camp long. He had a big day yesterday too.
Demarcus Robinson was absolutely huge for this team. 4 catches, 55 yards, had that touchdown. And also, Travis, that touchdown kind of cleaned things up from those penalties, too. It allowed them to overcome some of those miscues, some of those false starts. So, yeah, he was huge as well. I love what I'm seeing from him. But coming up on our next segment, got to talk about this defense and the play of the game, according to Sean McVay. We're going to talk some Kyren Williams. Lots to unpack here on this Victory Monday on Locked On Rams. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
Locked On Rams is sponsored by BetterHelp. So you know what it's like around the holidays, right? It's great. You get to see friends, you get to see family. There's a lot of wonderful things about it, but it can also be a lot of stress, right? It can also be something that maybe you're not dying to do. Maybe you're not trying to, see this particular person, or it always seems to be conflict with that particular person. So maybe this is a good time to think about therapy, right? So whether it's by starting therapy, going easier on yourself during these tough moments, or treating yourself to a complete day off from this stuff, remember to give yourself some love this holiday season. And if you've been thinking about therapy personally, talk about just how much better you feel when you get to open up to somebody, right? When you get to explain how you're feeling. Why not give BetterHelp a try? It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just have to fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So in the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
And we're off and running here on this Victory Monday here on Locked On Rams. Thanks for being a Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, special shout out to our everyday listeners out there. We appreciate you watching every episode, listening to every episode, and you can be an everyday listener too. Just join the club. It's 100% free, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Now, Travis, here in our second segment, we're going to continue on breaking down this one. You mentioned Kyren Williams, one of our big keys to the game. He was one of our show me something. Show me you can do it against a team like the Browns. He did it. 88 yards rushing, 24 receiving yards, had that touchdown. He's looking more and more like he's the guy moving forward. Love what I saw from Kyren Williams, just backing up those performances and really just continuing to legitimize himself as a top 10 running back in this league.
This was the game that I really was hoping to see from him. This was exactly what I think was the last piece in the puzzle, right? Do it against somebody that's not Arizona. Well, he did. And not only was it not against Arizona, but it was against one of the best defenses in football. And he did it on the ground. He did it through the air. And it wasn't like it got going early, right? This was a very slow build for Kyren Williams yesterday. I know we talked about how they found 5 starters in the draft this year in their 2023 draft, and they did. They also found, to your point, D-Mac, a legit NFL running back last year in the late rounds in Kyren Williams. This is an incredible benefit that the Rams have, that they've been able to find starting players deeper in the draft than in the first round or two. And Williams is probably, maybe Puka's at the top, but Williams is very close behind in second place right there. It gives them a two-way go. Matthew Stafford doesn't have to throw for 350 yards. He doesn't have to be perfect. There's a little bit of a safety valve there, and he has looked terrific since coming off of the IR. Another very big game coming up against another really good defense in Baltimore this weekend. But, a game that felt like the Rams had virtually no chance to win. It's going to be a tough one, but all of a sudden that's feeling a little more possible seeing what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. I also want to give credit to Sean McVay, too, for committing to the run. I mean, he had 21 carries for Kyren, 2 for Nacua, 1 for Royce Freeman. He was committing to that run game, and that was a big reason why they're able to neutralize that pass rush. And Sean McVay talks about these players creating their own energies out there, and I think Kyren's a good example. I mean, you see a lot of the same vibes with Puka and Kyren Williams, just when their ball's in their hands, when they're involved in the offense, it really just energizes the offensive line. It energizes Matthew Stafford. I think Kyren Williams has been an absolute revelation. Makes me wonder what this team would have looked like had they been 100% last year healthy with a Kyren Williams. I mean, kind of looking back, I mean, you had some pieces. Kyren Williams, I mean, he gets injured, hurts that ankle, kind of makes you think about what would have happened. That would have been the case, but still, love what I'm seeing from him, and he's the guy moving forward. Makes you really understand why he committed to him.
You talked about last year too, D-Mac. Well, how about just the time he missed this year, right? Or coming into this season where the Rams, they tried to do the Cam Akers thing one more time. And if you had to really kind of crack open McVay's head and really crawl in there and try to see what he's thinking, you wonder if there isn't a little bit of, man, I just should have gone with Williams right out of the chute. I knew what it was with Cam Akers. It wasn't going to work. We shouldn't have made that mistake again because he is a difference-making player. We'll see if he can stay healthy long-term. He's had trouble with that so far through his first 2 years in the season. But if they get into the playoffs, and it's still an if at this point, but I love their chances moving forward, he's going to be the difference between them maybe winning a game or not, because he is a different sort of guy. You got the quarterback, you got a couple of guys in wide receiver who can make some plays, but now you got a running back that can do some damage too. It's a totally different dynamic.
Absolutely. Look, credit to Sean McVay because he knew the difference there, though. The whole sunk cost fallacy, right? Cam Akers, second-round pick. Kyren was a fifth-round pick, right? But he clearly knew, trust your gut, man. What must be done eventually should be done immediately. Now, another one I want to talk about, Travis. John Johnson, the revenge game of the Browns. Now, we'll talk about the game that he had, but first, I want to get into his tweet after the game. John Johnson tweeted that get back AMF. So make of that what you will. You can translate if you want, but clearly he was playing with a little extra juice. And Sean McVay said that his interception in the fourth quarter was the play of the game. 6:51 left in that one. The Rams holding on to that 20-19 lead. It was a 1-point lead there midway through the fourth quarter. He gets that interception. That changed everything. They go down the field. They have that field goal, or they could have had a field goal or a touchdown. It really just stopped that Browns offense when they still had a lot of life. So a massive, massive interception there by John Johnson. He's continued to have a big role.
Yeah, and a nice little return on it too, because it was a great play at a really important time. The Rams score the touchdown to go ahead 20-13, and you're thinking, okay, they're in a pretty good spot. Well, here come the Browns right after that. They start to move the ball really well. They score what we all assume is going to be the game-tying touchdown. They miss the kick. So the Rams have a little bit of a bounce right there. All of a sudden, they still have the lead. But I thought what was really interesting is when the Rams got the ball back, they did nothing. Instead of seizing on that momentum, they went 3 and out right after that, gave the ball right back to Cleveland. And you're thinking, okay, now all of a sudden you're looking at the clock. Is Cleveland going to get down there, going to be able to kick a field goal, put them up by 2? Now the Rams are going to have to try to get into all the things that go along with that. Instead, boom, John Johnson makes a pick. You get the ball back, sets them up for another score. Now, not a great throw from Joe Flacco. I thought it was the one throw that he made yesterday that looked like a guy that hadn't played football in a really long time. He just completely misread the situation, made a very bad throw. But Johnson was there to take advantage of it. I thought it was a big play. I agree with Sean McVay. It really did kind of put the game away for the Rams. And look, this is something they have not been able to do most of the season, right? They have not taken the ball away very often as a defense. The defense has been good. They don't give up a lot of points, but they haven't taken it away very often, and they got a big one at exactly the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it was a very inaccurate ball there by Joe Flacco. You still got to make that play, right? I mean, defenders, secondary players are there they're not receivers for a reason, right? Sometimes they tend to drop plays like that, but still he took advantage of not just that play. I mean, he had 6 tackles. He was tied with Ernest Jones for the team lead. He had 2 pass breakups. He intercepted that pass late, and he's just a big part of this defense. And I think you look at this young secondary, you look at this young Rams team in general, having another veteran there that's able to produce is really going to help this team that's now hell-bent on making the playoffs, that's now making a run at this playoff team that really has a decent chance at this point. I think it's going to be huge moving forward. You look at Kobe Turner, he had a big game. Bobby Brown, he had some nice moments. So this defense, things are really starting to click. And look, they've been overachieving all season long. Give Raheem Morrison, the defensive staff, a lot of credit. And you're seeing that again. Also, too, Aaron Donald's having fun. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you don't see what he does in the box score, opening things up for Kobe Turner. He's out there dancing, doing his thing. Stafford's having a good time. It's just this blend of young, inexperienced Rams players that are starting to figure it out with these legendary players that are still having fun playing this game.
I thought that's a great point, D-Mac. I thought the same thing, that when you saw them get that sack and here comes Kobe Turner and here comes Aaron Donald and they're locked together with their arms and they're skipping back to the bench. This is a kid player in Turner and one of the great players to have ever put on an NFL uniform in Aaron Donald. And they're having the time of their life and they're together and you could tell it was a moment of unity. It was a moment of team. And, go back to the beginning of the season when is Aaron Donald want to be here? He said, as long as these guys are about it, I'm about it. And he found a couple of guys certainly that are about it like he was. It was great to see. And look, energy, positivity, camaraderie, whatever you want to call it. I think that does go, it does count. I think it counts more in football than it does in anything else. And you got to see it a little bit yesterday. And especially if it's number 99 with a big smile on his face, stuff's going pretty well for the Rams.
Yeah, and I hate to sound like some life coach here, but it's like, how do you spell fun? W-I-N. So it's like, yeah, of course, having fun when they're winning, right? That just makes everyone have a good time, and you're seeing them take advantage of. But definitely a great, satisfying win yesterday against the Browns. Yeah. But coming up in our next segment, we do have some things that we didn't like yesterday from the Rams win, and some things they need to correct moving forward. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
All right, so we are getting into bowl season. We're getting into NBA, right? There maybe you're a hockey fan. Of course, we still got about a month and a half, and then playoffs in the NFL. So where are you getting your tickets, right? The Gametime app. Put the Gametime app on your phone, and then you don't have to worry about where you're buying your tickets for your next big event. It's the fast and the easy way to buy tickets for all of your sporting events, your comedy, your concerts, theater events, everything near you. And of course, they got killer last-minute deals, including an hour after the event starts, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. The Gametime app takes the guesswork out of you buying your tickets. And of course, you get to see your view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly where you are. You know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees with those all-in prices that show you your total upfront. So what are you waiting for? Put the Gametime app on your phone, create an account, and redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. That code is LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, Travis, here in our third segment, definitely a great win. You look at the playoffs chances right now. New York Times has them up to 56% chance. A 56% chance the Rams can make the playoffs. And you look at a team that was 3-6, a team that we're talking about a top 5 pick, a team a lot of people out there. Yes, Travis?
A bad 3-6. Not just 3-6, but they looked bad doing it. That it wasn't just that they were 3 games under 500. It's the way that it looked while they were going there. That Cowboy game was ugly. That game against the Packers was ugly. The game against the Steelers was ugly. They were coming unglued at 3-6. And fast forward 4 weeks, you get a bye and 3 wins, and the world looks a lot different.
Exactly. That bye week, I don't know what they did during that bye week, man. They all go to Mexico, all go to Cancun. I don't know what they did, but they definitely got back on track. And they said, hey, we want to make the playoffs. And Matthew Stafford got healthy. And it makes you think, too, if he had gotten a backup quarterback for that Green Bay game, they would have been a much better chance right now. But still,
that's the game that's keeping you out right now, right? That you lose, that you're both 6-6. You lose the tiebreaker to the Packers because they beat you, and Brett Rippon was not up for the job that day. I think of all the things that the Rams have done in the McVay era, not addressing that position with more seriousness, I think is something that has to be different moving forward. I know you only have X amount of dollars to spend, and you want to make sure that you're spending it on people that are going to be in the game frequently. But we've seen it too many years in a row with the Wolfords and the Perkins, and Stetson Bennett was certainly not up for the gig. Rippon was not. I don't know what Carson Wentz's future plans are in this league, but if you can find a way to keep him at a cheap rate, I think that's incredibly important.
Absolutely. With someone like Matthew Stafford, who's great when he's healthy, but
Yeah.
he's gotten banged up. Father times undefeated, like we say. So I absolutely agree with you on that one. Now, just taking a look at where they stand right now in the playoff seeding. Like I said, a few hours there, it was great. I kept refreshing the NFL.com's playoff standing just because I love to see it. I love to see us in the playoffs. It felt really good. Then I refreshed it right after the Packers game, and we were there in the 8th spot. So they dropped the 8th spot. The Packers would be the Chiefs. If you look at wild card spot right now, you have 4 teams. They're tied at 6 and 6. You look at the tiebreakers, Vikings and Packers. They have the 6 and 7 seeds. The Rams and Seahawks, they're right there in the hunt. Rams have to worry about the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Packers, also Buccaneers and Saints. They're not out of it yet. So whoever wins the NFC South, they're going to get that 4 seed. So it's going to be very interesting coming down to the wire here. Next week, they're at the moment 7.5-point underdogs against this Ravens team. Yep. Who knows, right? With this Rams team, who knows? They're out Andrews, and I am 4-4 my last 4 Rams games picks, but I don't know if I'm ready to pick up to beat the Ravens, but still, I'm a little hype right now. I think that'll cool down a little bit come Friday, but still anything can happen in the NFL, right, Travis?
Yeah, look, it felt like a game that they would have, if they played it 10 times, maybe the Rams would have won once, but now I think maybe you play it 10 times, maybe the Rams win it 3 times. And that's a huge difference. Having a 30% chance is a lot better than having a 10% chance. And we've seen it. They can score points. They don't give up a lot of points. Now, Lamar Jackson is an MVP candidate. The last time we saw the Rams play a Lamar Jackson-led Ravens team, Lamar Jackson had one of the great performances I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes at the Coliseum a few years ago. But they're very much in it. I know one of the things that we don't love about the Rams team is their kicking situation and Lucas Havrisik. You just hope that it doesn't come down to a kick here or there. There's not a secret stash of NFL kickers that you can tap into at this point in the season. But I just hope that whether it's Baltimore or perhaps even more, potentially disastrous Washington, New Orleans, and New York and the Giants, and coming down to a kick there, and you just have a very green, very inexperienced, and quite frankly, not very good kicker lining up to get a kick that may or may not put you in the playoffs. It could be a problem because he missed another one yesterday, 43 yards. That in the NFL, you got to make your 43-yard kicks, and that thing wasn't even close.
Yeah, and that definitely, if we're going to pick one thing that we didn't like, there's some other things in there we'll probably talk about tomorrow, but probably the main thing, though, Luke Havrisik, he's not the answer at the kicker spot. He missed another kick, his 3rd in the last 2 games, a 43-yarder. I mean, Brett Maher would have made that one, right? I mean, come on, a 43-yarder, he pushed it right. It just didn't look good at all. And unfortunately, they just have not found that kicker. And sometimes, like we saw before they found Gay, right, it's going to take a couple kickers to get that guy that you can trust in. Now that this team is looking like a playoff team, those playoff games can come down to a kick. They can come down to 3 points or not. So that, honestly, when I wake up at 3:30 in the morning in a cold sweat, I'm thinking of Luke Havrisik pushing a kick right on a 43-yarder.
It was not a good kick. And it's one of those, like, sometimes you'll hit it right and the ball will just kind of drift, but this was right at impact. It was wide right. There was no chance that kick was actually going to go through. Look, again, and it's exciting because the Rams are 6 and 6. It's exciting because the Rams kind of have their own playoff future in the palm of their hand. Rams knew what they were doing coming into this season. They were not going to pay Matt Gay. They were not going to spend money on something that they did not think was going to be the difference between them being a successful football team or not. They had a very deliberate plan coming into the season. So far, it's been kind of the best possible version of this plan. They found 5 starters in 1 draft. They're incredibly competitive. They are in the playoff picture in the middle of December. The kicking thing may be the one little thing that wasn't addressed that could be the difference between you being in or out. But who knows? Maybe they put up enough points that it doesn't come down to a kick. But it is the thing that, like you said, if you're just kind of saying, is the quarterback good? Yep. Is the O-line good enough? Yep. Did you find some position players in Kupp and Kyren Williams? Yep. Is the defense holding their end of the bargain? Yep. Is the special teams unit good enough? And I think the answer is probably no. And you hope it doesn't come down to that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And they definitely need to find a way to get some consistency there. McVay gave him a little confidence, saying that he's confident moving forward, but still, it's a results-based business, right? I mean, if you're not producing, they got to figure out a way. And, yeah, hopefully it's not going to rear its ugly head. But if they don't do something now, makes you wonder if they're going to learn to regret it, because it feels like they didn't hit on Maher, and Havertz clearly wasn't the guy either. You can find kickers in the way they're trying to find kickers. We know that. They've proven that. But unfortunately, just yet, they just haven't been able to do it. But still, this Rams team, their first 3-game winning streak since 2021. This Rams team is streaking here. So it's definitely something you feel good about. You feel good about this Rams team. And we're going to break it more down tomorrow. We got winners and losers tomorrow. More from this one coming up on Locked On Rams tomorrow. So be able to, just what a win for this Rams team. But Travis.
Yeah, I just want to say, if people are watching us on YouTube, they see that you're in a hotel room right now. You're in Nashville, and I would very much like you to come back with Shohei Ohtani, please.
I'll bring Ohtani. Yeah, I think I can get him through my baggage claim right there. Yeah, for sure. I'll put him in my little duffel bag. I'm coming to get Shohei. I'm coming to get Yamamoto. Dodgers fans, I got us. So, yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's going to be exciting. I need a decision, man. I don't even have a watch anymore. I'm on Ohtani time 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Travis.
I don't know anything.
Can Ohtani kick? I mean,
I don't know. Probably. There probably isn't anything he can't do.
Yeah. I mean,
here's all I'm saying about Ohtani. I'm pretty darn optimistic. I'll just leave it at that.
There you go. You heard it, Travis Rogers right here. It's pretty optimistic. Dodgers fans loving to hear that. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams / Locked On Dodgers here. But thanks again for rocking with us, guys. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And, of course, Mr. Travis Rogers, the People's Champ. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.